Hey y'all, thanks for checking out the video. I'm going to show y'all how to build cyclone dust collector that works. That way I can do no more bagging. It just dumps into a hopper and no shoveling. Just pick it up with the forklift and move it where I want it. Stay tuned, see how I did it. Okay, here's what we're trying to do. We want to build a cyclone. Well, ain't quite right, but you get the idea. That's what we're going to do. This part here, this is going to be about 24 inches, and then from here to the bottom, about 36 inches. I've got 8 feet of overall height that I can use up there, and I may end up adding another 12-inch chute to the bottom of it. And we're going to have a little stack on the top of it to allow air to escape. This is going to be the input. This is where air will leave out, and this is where sawdust will escape from. This diameter here is going to be about 30 inches, plus or minus. I'm not really shooting for a huge precision on this. I'll show you the math. I'm going to round numbers off, try to make my life somewhat easier. So, on a 30-inch circle, to figure out my circumference, going back to high school geometry, it's 30 times 3.14. That's close enough. I'm not building a rocket, so I don't need to get too much more precise than that. It's 94.2 inches. Now, if I take that 94.2, I've got 5 3/4 inch wide boards. So I could take that 94.2 divide that by 5. That equals 18.84. 5 will go into that 18.84. So you get rid of your trash, and you go 94.2. I don't know how it did that. Forgot my number. Divide that by 18. 5.23. So I'm going to go 5 1/4 inches, so that's the size of my boards. So I'm going to be building a segmented radius that looks like that, and each of these boards are 5 1/4 inches. So that means that I'm going to have 19 joints. You always end up with one more joint than you have pieces. So now I can take 360, because that's how many degrees there are in a circle, divide that by 19, and that's 18.9 degrees. So we'll call that 19 degrees because, we're not building a space shuttle here. So 19 degrees divided by 2, that's 9.5 degrees. So that's what my bevel is going to be on these boards. because each one of those miters are going to equal out to 1/19 of 360. So that's where I'm at now. So now I can start milling. All right, well, there we go. If I was trying to actually make this look round, I would have made these segments a lot narrower, so it would be easier to come back and shave them down and make a rounded surface. But I'm not too overly worried about that. Doesn't need to be. It just needs to have enough roundness to it that I can make a circle. So. But when you start doing that, then that 9 degrees that I cut these on will start turning into like 1.5, something like that, because you start taking away the amount that you're asking each. You're taking away the amount of degrees that you're asking each piece to take up. No, I could be using like Type Bond 3 for this, but I'm going to do all of my glue assembly with this Total Boat Slow Cure epoxy. I love this stuff because, number one, it's reliable. It always works well, but it comes with these cool little pumps. So all I got to do is do full pump on each one of these. And I've got exactly the right ratio of resin and catalyst. Can't beat it. These nails are only here to hold it until I get a clamp on them. And usually all I do is for something like this is get a strap, regular old cargo strap, and cinch it down because it pulls fairly evenly across the whole thing, and then I can manipulate it a little bit here and there as needed. There we have it, 30-inch barrel. Get some straps and get this sucker locked down. All right, there we go. It's all clamped together. You can see the frickin' joints are nice and closed. It's right there. And you can look at the miters from the top, and they all pull together Real sweet. So this should close up pretty good. I'll let this sit overnight, and then tomorrow I will start on the next section, which will be the funnel for the bottom of it. Okay, so next up is my bottom, which is going to be 12-inch radius. So what I already know, excuse me, I already know that I'm going to have 18 pieces. So first thing I need to do is figure out what my circumference is. So that's going to be 12 times 3.14. That's my circumference. Divided by 18. So that's 2.09. We'll call that 2 1/16 for now. So each of my segments are 2 1/16. Now I've already figured out what my angle is going to be. So I'm going to be going from 5 1/4 to 2 1/16 on my funnel section. So now I need to build a taper jig and all of that happy stuff and do some angle measuring. What I did is I lofted this out on here. So I have my center line, and this is my 6 inches from the center line, so this is my 12-inch radius section. And up towards the top there, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a come on. Got my angle line drawn out. So I can do now is take my speed square and measure this angle so I know what bevel to cut my top and my bottom at. And then I can also take that 5 1/4 by 2 1/16 wedge, and I can make a taper jig and cut those pieces out with the 9.5 degree bevel on them, and everything should come together just as well as the first barrel section did. So back to milling wood. This is the reason I made this full scale representation here. See my line, and I was able to take my board and go ahead and cut it to length. I can verify my angle here. That's nice and flush. My angle here, I am just on the line, just covering the line a little bit, which is fine. So now I know that these are the correct length and the correct angle on the ends. So whenever I go to build the rest of it, it'll all just kind of lock together. Okay, here it is all put together. There's the funnel section of this. That took some professional level profanity to get it to come together. This thing fought me just a little bit. But I got it all clamped up. Joints are all closed. Should be relatively easy to get some fiberglass on it. These blocks that you see on here, they're just held on with a couple of screws just to keep the strap from sliding up the funnel. And I pre-mounted on the bottom and the top. And these I decided I needed to do at the last second because, well, these joints weren't closing up very well in the center, so I needed one more clamp so that this closes up and it stays airtight. But it's together, and I'll let it sit till tomorrow, and we'll see if we can get this sucker joined with the barrel and get some fiberglass going. Okay, well, here we are the next day. Popped a cone out of the clamps, and they're matching up pretty good. There's a little bit of roundness difference. You see here, this is hanging over just a bit, and then this a little over on this side, back to flush here, and a little over here. So nothing major. Nothing that a strap clamp and a little bit of persuasion will get them to where they'll line up. But there's your basic structure now of a cyclone. So my next chore is to get start making the cutout in the hole. So first thing I need to do is cut a duct to match up with the silver duct that you see coming up and making a bend out towards the wall. So that's the next project. All right, I'm ready to start fiberglass. Off camera, I went ahead and painted this with a thin primer coat of fiberglass resin. So now I'm ready to put the cloth on, and hopefully I'll gain a whole lot of rigidity on this once that cloth dries and gets good stuff to it. So away we go. What I did is I pre-cut my piece and I marked it with a Sharpie so I know right where to put it. And the rest of the piece as well. Go right with it, right to it. Put just enough of the coat on there to make it sticky. I'm going to put a flood coat on. I'm going to do that next. Now I just want it to have just enough on there I can put my fabric on. Well, I'm obviously not ready to start making surfboards, but it's going to do the job I need it to do. And that's to make this waterproof and add some strength. Okay, so here's where we're at. I got a square tube built to connect the dust collector to my cyclone, and I got this half done frame to hold it up. I still got to tie it back to the building to help kind of stabilize it against hurricanes, and I'm going to put in through here on this upright, put a piece of sheet metal, roofing metal, to brace this to where it won't rack side to side. Got the top on there. Got, you can see, 2-foot pipe hanging down. That's a 12-inch diameter pipe. But we got it. I still got a little work to do, but the main point of this right now is to feed a board through it and see if it works. I'll do the rest of that work if it does. Alright, so if this works properly, the shavings should just fall out and should have very little velocity. Okay, well here's the mostly finished product. The only thing I have left to do is I got to strom back it from that corner back to one of the purlins in the building here, just to give this a little added stiffness and strength. All the joints are glued together either with Titebond 3 or epoxy and fiberglass. I had to add this little spout on the end here because when it was coming out of the end of the funnel section, it still had some lateral velocity, so it was kind of like a seed spreader, and it was just spraying out laterally from the sides, but it didn't have hardly any momentum to it. So all I had to do is just add this little skirt, and what I did is I just put a handful of downriggers on here, epoxied them on, and then put fiberglass cloth to it, and epoxied all of that so it's reasonably stiff, and it makes all of the covers all the gaps. Now this doesn't need to be super structural or anything like that, so I didn't waste a lot of time. The only thing I would have done differently is that I would have placed that bar a little bit higher, now knowing that it would still have some lateral velocity to it, and that would have and that's just to make it to where this back side is a little easier to close up. You can see that's kind of ugly, but you know what? It doesn't leak, and it works. And this is a shop machine that doesn't have to do anything more than just be there. The lid, I left that removable. All I did was just put a big fat bead of caulk to join the lid to that. That way, if I ever need to do anything to it, or and that's also the most likely thing to rot away in the future, so that'll be easily replaced. I don't think I mentioned that the stove pipe that I put in there, it's a 12-inch pipe, and it's just a couple of inches shorter than the length of the barrel up there at the top. And so it works fine. When I first discovered I had some lateral velocity, I just wrapped it and burlapped it and with a couple of staples, and the exhaust out the top is working so well that it sucked the burlap into it and was actually forcing the chips to come out of the top because it would completely block the bottom. So that's why I ended up doing this with the fiberglass cloth, so that I got something nice and stiff, and I don't have to worry after all of this stuff get rotting down here in the bottom. Everything else is totally sealed in fiberglass, so it should not, water should not be able to get to it worth a damn. I'm contemplating putting a rain cap on top of that, but for right now I don't think that's really necessary, simply because whenever it rains I'm going to have to empty this anyway, and my hopper is much bigger than the cyclone, so it won't matter. I can't keep the sawdust that comes out dry, so I'll just have to pay attention to the weather, and if it's going to rain I need to make sure I empty it so that this doesn't turn into 50 tons instead of just 1 ton. Anyway, that's it. It's all, seems to be working really well. Hopefully this will save me a bunch of time in the future with not having to wrestle with bags on a typical shop dust collector. Well, I think that's going to do it for this week, y'all. Thanks for watching. Next week I'm going to be starting a new project I'm real excited to share with you. It's going to be a solid cherry wainscot that's floor to ceiling, and the walls are 12 foot tall. But I won't lie, right now I'm real proud of myself. That thing turned out better than I had hoped. So big learning experience for me, and I was glad y'all followed along with me. Stay tuned for that cherry project. I'm really excited to start showing that with y'all. If you feel like you got something out of this, please like and subscribe and share, and whatever else you do on social media with this stuff. Anyway, thanks for watching.